Oh, there he is. Ashley Hodge standing by with Baylor highlights behind him. Love the setup there. Love the standing desk. That is a man who spent some time on the treadmill, has spent some time in the weight room. I don't know where you're getting all the time, but you're looking good, looking very healthy. It was good to see you in the press box. Ashley, this is, I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but this is the first time you and I have done a podcast / streaming, whatever this is, in about like 7 or 8 years. Like when I first left Dallas Radio, man, you and I immediately got on the phone and it's like, let's do some stuff together. You know, Mosley suddenly out of a job after 10 years. And I think you and I thought we would just keep doing that for a while. And then suddenly we were forbidden from talking. And it's nice to be visiting again. So
yeah, good.
Thank you for doing this today. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, you do have the Baylor. What is that? Is that the men's?
This is the national championship? This is
a
vintage national championship shirt. Yeah, I think I have a year left in wearing this before it gets a little too dated. But I'm gonna milk it for all it's worth.
Did you like it say anything or have any like a Hodge heckling moment? Or, I mean, you were very professional in the press box, as you should be. There was one, on one of that first SMU touchdown, did you see that guy down to your left? There was an SMU guy clapping in the press box. Yeah. And I thought, I was going to go say something to him. But as you left the stadium, did you encounter any sad SMU fans? And did you have any fun with anybody? Or did you keep it very professional on the way out?
Oh, I keep it professional. I don't like the I'm a big let's talk our trash before the game when there's some risk involved. I don't like the talking noise after the result is in type of scenario. I will say though, we were sitting next to the coach's box for the SMU defensive staff, and I heard some very colorful language about alignments and it was interesting sitting right next to a coaching box. Let's just put it that way. Made the game more entertaining, but what a great game and what a great result for Baylor. That was a big confidence builder.
I'd like to know which coach that was. Was he mostly mad like on defense? Do you think that was the defensive coordinator who was shouting so much? Okay.
I think so. I think he was mad about alignment issues from his own guys. That's what I heard. It's he used some colorful adjectives to describe his opinion on the alignment.
I think it's almost certain he's a Methodist. That guy over there. But good to be with Ashley Hodge, Sikkim 365, one of the founders, managing partner, a man who just keeps it humming, and he makes sure that all his big brains over there, like S11, Sam Bradshaw, gets his reports in after the game. Did you take a peek? What was Sam? I'm a member, and I think I might have been blocked for a while, but I was able to navigate my way in. What was Sam's biggest? Have you looked to see kind of Sam's biggest takeaway from that game? Because I love having Sam on over the years. I would have Sam on in the old radio show, and then I would have Roeder on, and then you kept hiring everybody away. I was like, these are my guys, Ashley. But anyway, they're very good at what they do. Travis has retired from professional writing. I guess he's putting his medical stuff in front of that for now. But Sam's still doing it. As you've kind of thought through that game, and your staff, like Sam and others, and Grayson and Colt do such a nice job. Levi, I really like Levi a lot, especially his baseball, but you've really launched him into football this year. What are the biggest takeaways from that game? Obviously, the defense continues to struggle, but what were the couple of things that have kind of stood out about y'all's coverage in that 48 hours since Baylor had that stunning comeback win?
Well, I have two observations. One is if you read our message boards, you would think that SMU ran all over Baylor and Baylor couldn't run the ball at all. I mean, that was kind of the thought process or the narrative. But the actual stats kind of show us that it was very even. I think both rushed 44 times, around 160 yards each, and very similar yards per carry stats. So I think that was a misconception that wasn't borne out in the stats. But I think S11 mentioned this, and I did as well, that Baylor ran almost 30 more plays than SMU. I think the final play count was 94 to 66. Of course, part of that was SMU had a couple one-play drives, but I think that really caught up to SMU at the end of the game. That 30 extra plays gave Baylor the edge that they needed. Their defense was fresher. The SMU defense was more tired, and you could see that kind of in that last end of the fourth quarter. Baylor really took advantage of that.
Actually, we're old enough to remember some of those great Baylor SMU matchups, like even back to the 80s. And so to see both teams with really good athletes, and obviously they're better in the ACC and playing at a high level, it got me thinking about the fact that I think SMU and TCU, for whatever reason, they got that iron skillet, and I think they're going to let that thing go. I mean, they're going to play, obviously, in a couple of weeks. But, I mean, and maybe Baylor will have to look at scheduling because SEC's changed the schedule. It's going to go to 9 games. Baylor's already there with the Big 12. But just that whole scene and the fun nature of that, I'm not saying you should open every season with an SEC game and then an ACC game, but I would have no problem with Baylor and SMU playing both football and basketball on an annual basis.
Yeah, no, I think I liked it. I mean, it's a cool rivalry, and obviously it's one that Baylor's dominated. I think they're 14 in a row. That last game they lost, I was looking up the stats for that game, and they lost, I think, in 1985 or 86, and Baylor dominated that game on paper, but they turned it over 5 times. SMU had a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So I'm sure that game was circled, and SMU fans and SMU players wanted that bad. Baylor was fortunate to get out of there with a win, but it would be a fun rivalry, and especially now that SMU's making such a huge commitment to NIL and really funding their program well. That I think it would be a fun game to play on a yearly basis.
Okay. Well, somebody's getting free commercials during this interview behind you back there. I think I just saw like a Mel Enhancement commercial. But focus on Ascension Providence. Focus on that right now, which is one of our great sponsors here on the Mosley Show. I want to get some hoops at some point here, but I want to stick with the Baylor football for a minute.
Sure.
The wide receivers between Prentice, Cameron, Ashton, honestly, Lewis, he hasn't really gotten going yet. Right,
And somebody Miranda talked about in glowing terms in fall practice.
This intrigue's going to be maybe day to day. I don't know, some kind of shoulder situation. Cole Wilson's awesome. I mean, I think every year you just start scouting Texas State receivers. Like, who do we want? Yeah. I think this is, not that they didn't have some really good receivers with Rule, even going back to when Miranda got here, Tyquan Thornton was a great one. They've had some really good, but as far as the deepest core of wide receivers and weapons, when you throw Trigg in there, it was funny when I saw number 12 the other day when Trigg was hurt. I was like, wait, who is that? And I'm like, Kelsey Johnson's still around. Sure. He was out there running around. To me, this is the deepest group they've had maybe since the Bryles years. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it compares favorably to the Bryles wide receivers, and that's a huge compliment. Those guys were All-American, caliber receivers, but we got some dudes. You saw that on display with Josh Cameron. Ashton Hawkins is, incredibly athletic. I think we saw them do flips after the game. He and Cole Wilson just like they must be dating some A&T athletes or getting some tutelage from them, because that was impressive. These guys are alpha type receivers. And Prentice, I mean, what a great ad he is. And I know they're high on Jaden Porter coming, that's coming up. So I think the future is bright, for that wide receiver room as long as Spavital's there. I mean, he's a great offense coordinator.
Do you think Baylor needs to tap into our huge marketing brains in terms of, I mean, like Sawyer's putting up incredible numbers. I was on Dallas radio when RG3 was doing his thing, and they were Heath and the guys, the Baylor PR guys. Who's our other guy that was, he went to Iowa State afterwards?
Nick Jose. Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, Nick Jose. We like Nick a lot. They were putting him on regional, national. They were really pushing that. Like Sawyer, the Mateers of the world, because of where they play, are always going to get a leg up. The good news about this is Sawyer's incredible right now. He's thrown for 850 yards and 7 touchdowns, as you mentioned. And Klubnik, Arch, even Aller, I'm not hearing that much about him, the Penn State quarterback. Some of these huge Heisman hopeful names have come out a little sluggish out of the gates. So to me, I'm not trying to stir anything up. I'm just like, and I like Aranda a lot and all that kind of stuff. But like, when you have a player of this magnitude, and you heard Aranda after the game, don't take this guy for granted. Baylor people, don't take Sawyer Robertson for granted. Like, part of me is thinking you got to be able to bend your policy a little bit. And I know, Ashley, when people pay some NIL money, maybe Sawyer can do some of those. But I think Baylor's got to change their approach a little bit. I'm talking about Aranda specifically, and let this kid be interviewed and featured on ESPN and Fox and other places because he's that special. And when people see him, he's like an incredible dude. He's smart. He comes across great. We got to interview him at the Big 12 Media Days. I just feel like I think he's good enough that the big time media blitz, Heisman marketing blitz needs to come with him. And I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I think the schedule's hard enough that should take care of itself to some degree. You missed an opportunity, obviously, to beat Auburn. I think he would be even more in the limelight had they pulled that win off. But you got a big opportunity with Arizona State. It's a primetime game, Fox. So that's another huge window for the country to see how good he is. And, I think if he has another great game in that one, then I would hope there would be bigger efforts to get him in front of national media because he is special and he is a Heisman candidate. I mean, there's no question about it. And I think there's enough good games on the schedule. If Baylor takes care of business, gets to 9 or 10 or 11 wins, which, obviously 11 would be hard to do. But if they are able to do that, then I think he'll be in the conversation.
Much like the Bryles teams, this may be one of those defensive years where you're just trying to occasionally get a turnover, get a takeaway like Reading did the other night, get one stop somewhere along the way. I even saw some NFL games yesterday where there were no punts, and there was just every single possession. That Cowboys-Eagles game started out like that the other night in the first half until that break. Both teams were going. It's going to be a fun style. The good news is I don't think there's a runaway. I think Iowa State's pretty solid. They play a good brand of defense, but how would we ever know against a team like Iowa that's always offensively challenged? From what you've seen, Ashley, Big 12-wise, obviously Arizona State got beat the other night. Oklahoma State got drilled. It's out there for the Bears taking.
Utah looks good. It's early, but we'll see. They got a big game coming up. I think Texas Tech visits them the same week we play Arizona State. It's Utah. Kansas State doesn't look to be as good as they were expected to be preseason. Obviously, TCU is going to be a contender. Arizona State, one of those names. You think Texas Tech, with as much as they're spending, will be up there as well. But, Baylor's in the mix. I mean, who wants to face Sawyer Robertson and these group of receivers? And, that offensive line pass protects really well. So this is a dangerous team, and hopefully the defense can get healthy on the defensive line and start to show some improvements. A little disappointing, and their start to the season, but there's time to get that corrected, and hopefully they'll show improvements as we hit the meat of the Big 12 schedule.
I like to hear the optimism from you, and maybe Jackie Marshall can get healthy and play more snaps. I think on the offensive side of the ball, you've got the makings of a pretty good O-line. I think your members are correct to be a little concerned about the run game. Also, Sawyer's having to overcome a lot because his guys are getting called for holding a ton, and I'd have to really examine the tape. Coaches always say that. I got to look at the tape. That's what I'm going to start saying. Let me look at the tape before I comment on that. But whether it be Big 68, Fugar over there at tackle. I mean, these guys are really good players, I think, but I do think they get a little grabby. But good for like Siraki being ready to come in. Colton's been getting banged up and having to leave games and that kind of thing. And so I think that's a good thing. Ashley Hodge, you saw the graphic up there. Baylor basketball insider, a beloved donor at Baylor, a man who it really is nice to kind of see you in the press box. You're a man who in the past has really enjoyed life in a suite. So to come down with the rank and file and be in a press box with us means a lot to us. It makes us feel a part of things. You went on the trip to Germany,
yes,
with Baylor basketball, and they were missing some players because of where they were playing, representing the Team USA. There were some of the players from foreign countries couldn't play. You did get to see one of their players, Michael Ratai, who was playing for Germany in this tournament. It was obviously, what was that thing called? Some kind of Olympic type. What was the name of this
World
University Games?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now, by the way, you were trying to do these interviews, and it was so freaking loud at these places after the game, and I was monitoring all your stuff, and it was good, but it was like, oh my gosh, can we get Scott to leave the arena or something? I mean, they would make these things so loud. Were the crowds like into it? Was it kind of a fun scene over there?
Yeah, I was shocked at how engaged those fans were. I mean, almost every game that I was at was sold out. It was lots of German fans that just love basketball. Because some of those games Germany wasn't even playing. In the time slot that USA played. But yeah, they love basketball, and I came away really confident in our best 5 players, which in my opinion is Obi Agbem, Cam Carr, and Dan Skillings Jr., Tunde Yesufu, who did not play, and then Michael Ratai, who played for Germany. I think Ratai is our best player. I think he's very just an all-around, difference maker, and I think the ball is going to be in his hands a lot, to distribute and really initiate offense. The comparison was made to Tim Duncan. I mean, he's a shorter version, but he's got that kind of calmness about him. He's just very calm, and he doesn't get in a hurry. He plays game at his pace. He's really skilled. And then Obi showed that he can score against anybody. I think Tunde is going to be terrific. Maybe a better freshman than VJ Edgecombe as far as impact on the college game. I don't know if he'll be drafted as high in the NBA draft, but anyway, those 5 are really good. Cam Carr is a breakout star potential. I worry about our depth. We've got some injuries. Jocelyn Bodo with the ATV accident, he's out probably until mid-season. Hopefully we get him back. And then Michael Perez tore his ACL in practice a couple weeks ago. So those are 2 guys that you were counting on to be in the rotation. So we'll see what the depth looks like. But, those top 5, I think, are really good.
That's almost why I wish Scott would not, how when they had injury issues last year, he kept saying, we went this many years without an ACL, and now these things are happening too much. And honestly, I'm only halfway kidding here. I think you're gonna, some of these college contracts are so big, and you're paying these guys I think you start. Yeah, I think you're going to have to start doing like the NBA does and tell kids like what they can and can't do. And like, I think
Scooters,
there's,
ATVs.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no question about it. Yeah, those are. We've had a couple freak accidents on both of those vehicles in the past year, and I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see that written into these NIL contracts.
Where was that ATV, by the way? Was it in McLennan County, or where
No,
was
it
he?
was
No,
it was
somewhere
before he
else.
got to campus. Yeah.
Okay. Oh man, isn't that something? You bring in all this size, and but again, I want to go back to the positive because you got me excited thinking about Ratai. I mean, you only compared him to like the greatest power forward in NBA history, so
Yeah.
that's good. Now, Tunde Yesufu, because for people that don't know, Ashley, because of his status and I would say, long-standing and great friendship with Scott Drew, gets to see things most of us don't get to see, and which is nice. I have had assistant coaches try to sneak me in, but there's a certain member of the program that's always got his eye out for Mosley, Mosley sightings. He might run me out of there. But I want to hear more, and I think people would be interested in this. In Tunde Yesufu, like what his game's like what are proper expectations, and like how will they use him? Because again, like you said, VJ, there's never going to be anybody that he's probably the most explosive athlete
Right.
in the history of the program. Yesufu's different, not that he's not explosive and not that he's not powerful, but he's certainly built different. Is he a guy that can create his own shot? Like walk us through when he's at his best, what is he doing?
Well, first of all, Cam Carr may give VJ Edgecombe a run for his money on athleticism. Unbelievable athlete. I've seen it in practice. I saw it in Germany. He is special. But Tunde is. I was talking to an NBA scout on the phone for about 30 minutes a couple of days ago about him. I would say from what I've seen in practice, his best skill is the motor. I mean, he has got a relentless motor. He's just a guy that plays hard every possession. He's going to get a lot of deflections on defense. He's very active with his hands. I might compare him to Marcus Smart a little bit. He's a better shooter than Marcus Smart, but he's got that kind of motor and that kind of effect on the game. He's a downhill player. He's going to drive it and try to get to the rim, and he probably will commit some charges. Thankfully, he doesn't play in the era a few years back when almost everything was called a charge. That's more advantageous to the offensive player in today's basketball. But I think he's a guy that's just going to get to the free throw line a lot. He's going to make a decent amount of threes. Probably going to be a really streaky shooter. But his best skill is he's just going to impact the game with energy, motor, attitude. When I interviewed him, I said, "What do you want to tell Baylor fans?" He said, "Tell them the Big Bear's coming to town."
The Big Bear is
That's
coming
right.
to town. All right. So without Bodo and Perez obviously has some good size as well. What's the front court look like? And like you say, that was where they had depth issues last year. The young man that played at Rice from Midway
Caden
is
Powell,
someone. Yeah, we'll be excited to see who else can help the Bears there across the front line. I mean, obviously they're going to need.
Yeah, Mayo Soyoye, I think, is going to play. Yeah, the freshman, he's really good. I think he's a freshman, but he's got the size, athleticism that you want from a Big 12 center. Beat Villanova and Maryland for his commitment. So I think he's a guy that you might see play quite a bit. And then you got Isaac Williams, JJ White. They're not front court players, but I think we're going to be looking at a lot of lineups with Ratai as our 5, Skillings playing the 4, and then you got Tunde Yesufu and Cam Carr, who have really good size and athleticism, playing that 2-3, and then I think you'll see Obi running some point, but. I like the chemistry. I like the guys work hard. Getting Bodo back would be a big shot in the arm, especially with the loss of Perez. And then we could add somebody at mid-semester as well. So that's something to be on the lookout for. But it was too late to add anybody before once classes started and Perez got injured. But I think the product's going to be better than last year. Certainly going to be more athletic, and I think our wings are as good as you get in the Big 12.
Yeah, it's funny how these teams will like add like a European player just out of nowhere, and some of them are highly skilled type players, and so hopefully that's interesting what you said about Carr. I mean, that gets me. I mean, I saw some great things and some great dunks, but that kind of explosion and everything, that'll be really exciting. What since we've last talked, we're like 7 years ago, but no, for people that don't know, Ashley and I talk a lot, and we just don't really do it publicly. But now we can. The schedule, the non-conference schedule that came out. There's an exhibition in Indiana. Again, that'll be fun, and maybe people will actually show up for that game and that kind of thing. I wish the Bears would try to work in, like, bring back A&M and bring back some of these really fun rivalry games locally. There is one game now. The women are playing University of Texas up in Fort Worth. What's the Bears' best?
Louisville. Well, they got Louisville, and
that's in December.
Fort Worth. They've got Washington at home.
Yeah,
that'll be a tough game. And then they've got some games in Vegas. At least 3. They go Creighton, and then they got Louisville. Not Louisville, St. John's. So the ex-Louisville coach. Creighton and St. John's, and then they'll probably play another quality opponent in that Players Era tournament. So you're looking at 5, 6 really good games in the non-conference, and that should get you ready for Big 12 play.
But not one of those random so-called. I mean, it's not that it weren't neutral where they go to Spokane or they go to Detroit. I mean, that has Baylor.
Well, they're going to Indiana
Marquette
to play this exhibition game.
But
it's an NIL game, but it doesn't count. So that's
it. That's it. Yeah,
that'll be I'm sure a big environment for Indiana fans to fill that arena. But yeah, you're right. There won't be a game that's a quote neutral game in somebody's backyard. Louisville is coming to our backyard, and it's after football season, so hopefully our fan base really shows up for that in Fort Worth. That would be a great thing if we can claim the majority of fans there.
That's a place where Dickies Arena. We've seen an NCAA regional. We've seen some fun one-off games like this one, and then that's got good sight lines, Ashley, for some of the bro country music that you so adore. And I know you've seen some good concerts there. You get to put the boots on and really get out and about.
Never seen a concert there. I did see a concert in Germany, Amos Lee. Do you know Amos Lee? That was Art Brau's favorite musician. He's good.
What kind of music is that? Amos Lee, what is that? What genre is that?
Blues, kind of
really?
Blues, yeah.
I didn't even know Art liked music. That's good. Boy, those are the nuggets you bring.
That's right. Yeah.
Amos Lee. That's good. I thought
Germany. In front of 200 people in a beer garden. That was special. We had Malbear.
Yeah.
Malbear was getting into him. Malbear's like, who is this guy? Donald Wright. And he's like, I don't even know this guy. And by the end of the night, he's like top 5 concert. That was amazing. So Donald was a big fan.
Donald was asleep within 10 minutes. I would say when the folks at Sikkim 365, who I love, and I was a part of that thing a little bit. I mean, y'all were kind enough to get me involved in the early days. But when people come after me, the great Michael Mathises of the world or Blair Browning, like some of my people will come in there and they'll have Mosley's back, which is nice. Malbear is not to be seen in those moments. Very close friend of mine, but I've noticed he just kind of sits that out. Maybe
he would have to actually get on the message board to have that on his radar. But I think he's an occasional message board guy, but he does support the site, so we're appreciative. Yeah,
I enjoy it. I'm back involved, and I always know it because it'll hit a certain account, and I'm like, oh, there's my monthly payment to Ashley. But yeah,
we appreciate the support.
Yes, my money has kept this thing afloat for years. No,
we need it because I got 2 at Baylor right now, so that's as you know, you got one at A&M. That's not cheap either, but Yeah, the Baylor
Yeah.
tuition is keeping me on my toes. Let's put it that way.
Well, and by the way, Ashley is one of the America's really, really strong financial advisors. So if you've got some extra money laying around, I would keep him in mind. And even some of the people that went to Germany with you, those were some folks that have been very successful investing with you. So there's a little plug for Ashley on that front. But mostly he's just dedicated to his love of Baylor. Yeah. Ashley, this is fun. The only thing we could have done if we had gotten another voice on here, our old buddy Weston. And believe it or not, Weston turned 40 recently.
I saw
In fact, they had like a surprise party for him. Weston Rogers, I believe Grace threw that for him, and maybe up in the Rockwall, that area. So shout out to Weston, who we did some podcasting with in the early days of Sikkim 365. Y'all have been extremely successful. And so shout out to all the people out there. Who's the one guy it's not the Red Rocket, but what is he? Red Bear, Red, what is that guy's name? I always like him. You know, he's always hosting things like in New Orleans. What's that guy's name?
Yeah, Mike
like that. Yeah, Redfish, some of those guys. Just shout out to all of you guys. Even Colt. Colt get mad at me every once in a while, but I love Colt.
Well, I tell you, Weston and I did an interview with a guy named Stacy Cole, who was a Baylor basketball player in the 1950s. He passed away this past year. But we linked that interview when he passed away, and it's just really cool that we had that because this guy was just an unbelievable, encyclopedia of Baylor sports knowledge. He went by set shot on the message boards. And so anyway, Weston was a part of that and was really the prompting of getting that done. So shout out to Weston Rogers.
That's a good one. I'm glad. That's a good callback. And that guy, and then I used to love it when the great Larry Gatewood, he'd get involved and do some stuff.
I talk to Larry all the time, man. He's still going strong.
Larry's got some opinions. I went to college with his daughter, Leslie. So lots of great Baylor people on that site, Sikkim 365. You'll see Ashley and some of his talented team will be able now to join the Mosley show. I don't know if that's in the contract yet or not, Ashley, but we'll see. And I'll obviously I'll Venmo you for this one. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
There he goes, Ashley Hodge, the founder and managing director. I don't know what you call it, but he's the grand poobah over there at Sikkim 365. He and Colt, of course, Brian Etheridge, all great friends of mine over at Sikkim.